Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's head-to-head comparison, let's take a look at the 2025 BMW M235 Gran Coupe and put it up against the 2025 Audi S3. I borrowed these from Hendrick BMW Northlake and Audi Northlake, so take a look at their links down in the description, along with the full detailed reviews that I have on both of these models. So let's start off with the MSRPs. For the Audi, this starts right around $48,700 versus $49,500 for the BMW. And in today's video, both of these are just over $56,000. So they are similarly equipped. Now, working our way to what powers these, the Audi has a 2-liter inline 4-cylinder turbocharged engine paired to a 7-speed automatic, and it pumps out 328 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque. The BMW has a 2-liter twin-power turbo 4-cylinder paired to a 7-speed dual clutch, and it pumps out 312 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque. Now, both of these are all-wheel drive, very similar curb weights at 3,600 pounds for the BMW versus 3,500 for the Audi. 0 to 60 is going to be 4.2 seconds for the BMW versus 4.5 seconds for the Audi. They share the same top speed at 155 miles an hour. And then as far as fuel economy goes, you're looking at 24 miles per gallon in the city and 33 out on the highway for the BMW, and then 23 and 31 for the Audi. They also have very similar fuel tanks as well at 13.2 versus 14.5. So as we work our way to the exterior styling, as you can tell, there's a big difference. For the Audi, there's the hexagonal design along with the new Audi badge. There's also sensors up front, and then lots of cutouts to provide additional cooling. Now there's also LEDs for all of the lighting with a nice dark housing. And then for the all-new 235, you'll notice the sensor for distance pacing, forward-facing camera, all of the parking sensors. Not as quite of a dark housing for the headlights there, but you'll notice there's some more trim accents on both sides too. And then each of these have very subtle lines that come down the hood. So we have some nice looks for both of them, just of course, very different. And working our way to the side now, you'll notice that we have a nice set of wheels. I believe some of the wheels can be swapped out, but for both of these models, you'll notice the blue M Sport brakes along with the red S-Line brakes for the Audi. I think both of them have a really nice wheel. You'll notice too that there's gloss black in the lower side skirt for both of these models. And then with the side mirrors, you get a camera and a turn signal. For the power folding side mirrors on the BMW, you just have a turn signal for the Audi along with gloss black there. Now with the Audi, you also have a sunroof, and the rest of the roof is blacked out to give it a great look. And you'll notice that is the same with the BMW too, just a little bit different there. And as far as their side designs go, we have much different angles, much different lines too, and especially with the back window right here. There's more of a point with that crisp line just underneath it versus a little bit more subtle and smooth for the BMW. Now working our way to the back, this has LEDs, there's the backup camera, all of the parking sensors, the quad tip dual exhaust, and some more gloss black. Now you can use the button on the key fob or the one up underneath to gain access to the cargo space, where underneath the floor, you have a little bit of storage along with some battery access. You get a 12-volt with some storage, you have a net here, and you can also fold down the back seats to get that much more space. And then you have a grab handle up top and that trunk-mounted spoiler. And then working our way to the M235, you have a trunk-mounted spoiler, backup camera, LEDs, all of the parking sensors, quad-tip dual exhaust, and a gloss black in the lower diffuser. And then same thing to gain access to the cargo space, where when you lift up the floor, you have a lot of space, no battery access right there, but you have a cargo net on one side. There's a hook, so very similar. And then you can also fold down the back seats. You can actually do that from back here rather than walking around. And of course, that will give you a lot more interior space for these smaller vehicles. Now let's jump into them now, where you do have a proximity door handle, so you can unlock it from the back. And then interiors will vary, of course. You have different options that you can go with. This model is Alcantara, red stitching. You have the Sonos audio and some storage down below. Really nice trim accents with some interior lighting too. And then a very nice set of seats with all of the red stitching. Now at 5'10", I can easily hop in where I have a good bit of space. There's also some storage nets. You have auxiliaries and vents. And at my height, even with my hat on, I'm just barely touching the headliner. Both of these are on the smaller side for their respective classes here, but I could ride around town, maybe go on a short road trip. I'm just barely up there, so for its size, it's really not all that bad considering how small it is. Now you have the armrest with 2 cup holders there, and then here's a look at visibility from the back. You have that small window there, which does provide a little bit more light, which is of course helpful. And then working our way to the BMW now, we don't have any proximity door handles on this. So when it does lock, you have to grab the front in order to unlock it. There are some settings where grabbing that door handle will unlock the back. Now for this model, you have all the black leather, silver stitching, a little bit more storage in the lower section there. And then a nice design for the seats. You'll notice there's no stitching or anything for this model as far as having the contrasting stitching. But now hopping into the back, I'd say I have about the same amount of legroom. There's no storage pockets behind either seat though. You get auxiliaries and vents in the middle, and then you get a little bit more headroom in the Audi. I am touching the headliner a little bit more in this, so a little bit tighter, a little bit short of a roofline back here, but you could still make it work just depending on how tall you are, of course. Now you have the armrest with cup holders in the middle, and then you have a little bit larger of a window right there, but very similar, I will say. You get a cool 2 stamped in the back as well. Now, since I have the full detailed reviews, I'll just go through this fairly quickly. You get memory seating adjustments, the power folding side mirrors, all of the storage, Harman Kardon for the audio for this, and then a really nice set of sports style seats up front. They are automatic. You have 1 manual adjustment for the leg support. And then let's start this up where you have a solid leather steering wheel. There's also massive paddle shifters on both sides. On this left side, cruise control settings. On the right side, you have volume along with Bluetooth and voice commands. And then you can also go through a lot of information in the gauge cluster. So just depending on the content that you would like to see, you have quite a lot that you can scroll through. You can also adjust the layout too. So depending on how you want to view this, and you can even get into the head-up display where you have a few different settings, even a curve ahead view for the navigation when you have that on. Now on this left side, you only have air vent adjustments. There's more interior lighting. And then with the infotainment system, basically all of the controls are in the lower section and on the far left. So you have a lot of apps that you can get into. You also have a split view here. You can pull up the climate adjustments so you can get through all this information. You even get heated seats, and then you have the shortcuts on this side here. So it's pretty easy to go through. I like the sizing of it for this model. You get more ambient lighting along with air vents, a little bit of storage, along with cup holders and auxiliaries, even wireless charging. You have volume and tuning, and then you have a few shortcuts down below here. So you can get into your driver assistance, your drivetrain and chassis. You can even get into the different modes. So this will also change that interior lighting, and it will change the throttle response for this model. So you can go through all of these here, just depending on what you would like to see for the animations there. Now you also have a shortcut to the camera system, some defrosters, and when we put this into reverse, you get the 360 camera for this model here. So you can go through all of these angles. You even have the 3D view so you can see around the entire vehicle, which is very nice to see. And then you have the e-brake, which is park, the engine start stop. You get a little bit of storage in the armrest, along within the glove box here. And then up top, there's a rear view mirror. You have your dome lights and controls for the sunshade and sunroof. And then here's a look at visibility. It's pretty easy to see over both shoulders. Even with it being a small vehicle, you have the pillar there that is pretty easy to see over both shoulders. So working our way to the Audi now, you get memory seating adjustments, power folding side mirrors are also heated, and then you have similar controls to the BMW and a really nice trim accent with that ambient lighting. You have automatic seats. They look to be maybe a little bit more supportive, but I like the pattern of the stitching that these seats have to offer. Now we have the start button down below and a little bit different of a design for this steering wheel. Paddle shifters are significantly smaller. You get distance pacing, so there is a sensor up front for that setting there. And then you have some controls on this left side to go through the virtual cockpit. So you can scroll through similar information, I will say. You have a lot of vitals here that you can go through, and you have a view button which will change the layout. So very similar to the layout on the BMW, however, you just have the 2 settings here. But you can still go through all this information as needed. And then you have your Bluetooth, you have volume and tuning, and a favorites button too. So you can set that up to what you use the most. Now you do get storage on this left side. You have headlight adjustments, more lighting, no head-up display for this model. And then the infotainment system is all touchscreen, just like the BMW. So you have several apps that you can go into and all of the shortcuts on this left side to further get through this information. Now you also have all the climates down below. So you have fan speed, temperature, you have recirc, heated seat adjustments, all of that information. And then you do get different driving modes like in the BMW. The graphics do not change, but you can hear the exhaust in dynamic. You even have a dynamic plus too. So you can go into those settings to change the throttle response. There's traction control, engine start stop. You do have a shortcut to the camera system there. This model also gets parallel parking, and you have a driver assistance control that you can get into. So you can go through all of this information here depending on how you would like to set it up. Now you get wireless charging, you have volume and tuning, and then a little bit different of a design for the shifter. So you can pull up the backup camera there, and then you have park. You get the e-brake with a 12-volt cup holders and storage, a little bit of storage in the armrest, along within the glove box. And then up top, you do get garage door buttons. You have the dome lights, and you have the sunshade. Now the sunshade on this model is actually transparent, so you can actually have the sunroof open with the shade closed, which you cannot do in the BMW. And then here's a look at visibility, probably going to be about the same just because they are similarly shaped with that back glass. But there's a look at the exteriors and the interiors for both of these smaller size sedans. Let's get them out on the road and see how they drive. So let's start off behind the wheel for the M235. I have it in sport mode, second gear. Here we go. And just a mild acceleration. I really like the size of these paddles. It definitely gives it more of a sporty feel with their sizing and of course how responsive they are to use. But this is what it's like to be behind the wheel for the BMW. And again, I have the full detailed reviews. If you want to see more driving impressions, this will be a condensed version for today. But it seems like a very nice vehicle to drive. For everyone who is hating on the new design, I think it's a fantastic vehicle. It may be a little bit steep in price for its sizing, but if you want to get into a luxury brand like this, you are going to get a very nice vehicle for the money and for the options that it has to offer. It's a pretty refined drive. You can feel some of these bumps in sport mode here. This isn't the smoothest road. It has a really good turning radius too though. And these seats are also very comfortable, so I have no complaints with that. I think one complaint that a lot of people do also have is with this new system, there's no control down below like BMW has had in previous models to go through the infotainment system. Now you could argue the Audi doesn't have that either, so they're both touchscreen, so they're on the same level there. But it's really easy to go through for the tech that is available. And I could see this being a good daily driver if you're not looking for a large vehicle. With its size, it's more maneuverable in the city, parking situations, and you just don't have to worry about a big vehicle. But it still offers a decent amount of space for its smaller size. Handling is also really good too. I go over that in the full review. With its all-wheel drive system, it's a lot more versatile, of course, in inclement weather and things like that. But it is something that you could take on some back roads and have some spirited driving with. Even though it's not a full M car, you still have some of those characteristics, which I like BMW does in a non-performance model like this. But let's hop into the Audi and see the differences. And behind the wheel now for the Audi, second gear dynamic plus. Here we go. And just a mild acceleration. Again, take a look at the full detailed review, but it seems pretty responsive as well for the paddle shifters here. They are just significantly smaller. And as you can tell, we have a much different interior and layout, so it really just depends on which one you feel more comfortable in. This car isn't quite as loud, even in Dynamic Plus, as the BMW, so a little bit more refined feeling, I will say. Not that you won't get that from the BMW, but just a little bit more luxury focused-ish for the Audi here. And it rides very similar, same road of course, even in Dynamic Plus. You can feel some of these bumps here, but it's really not a bad vehicle to drive or something to drive every day. Turning radius is also pretty tight as well. Seats are super comfortable. I like the support that these have to offer. So you're really going to get a lot of similarities with their sizing. You just have different tech features and how everything is laid out. I don't think you can really go wrong with either model. Just depends on which one works better for you. As far as road noise goes, same with the BMW. You know, for this quick test drive, it's not bad. For the other driving that I have done, it seems to be what you would expect for something like this, especially for a smaller daily driving vehicle. Now with this model too, you get parallel parking and some of those extra aids, which is nice to see. So again, great city vehicle for situations like that. So coming back to our final thoughts now with the BMW M235 and the Audi S3. Honestly, both of these are very fun vehicles. I own an Audi myself. I also have a BMW too, so I'm kind of torn with which one I would go with. From the M235i reviews I have made, a lot of people aren't a huge fan of the exterior design. I think it looks really nice. I think it looks like a mini M5 when the new M5 came out in the redesign. The Audi though is a classic. It has a very nice seamless design to it, not too flashy, and it gives you all of the tech, all of the driving characteristics that you are looking for. You do get a little bit more space in the Audi too, so if that's a concern for you, these are both very small vehicles anyway, but you do get a little bit more space and practicality. Both of these are going to be super fun to drive though. They're going to get very good MPG. They're going to be sporty, smaller size sedans to go with. So personally, I am torn between both of these. I do like the exterior look of the BMW. The tech is very nice too, same with the Audi as well. So you have a lot of different options that you can go with between both of these models, depending on what you like, both exterior, interior, and their driving characteristics, which are going to be fairly similar. So comment down below, would you rather have the all-new BMW, or are you going to stick with the Audi model here? Let me know your thoughts. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a huge thumbs up, and consider smashing that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with our daily uploads. I will see you all in the next video.